Hello and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. You're very welcome to our second preview show of the season and club preview show of the season. And we're looking forward to all the games coming up this weekend. I'm delighted to be joined by Annick Moore. I was going to say goalkeeper, it's more half back, I think, these days. Matthew McNeice, and he's going to help me look at all the games in all the 5 divisions. As always, this podcast is in association with McKeever's Teamwear, proud suppliers of all Armagh GA merchandise. Matthew, thanks very much for coming on. And with the exception of 2, all the games are going to be on Friday night this week. So we'll look ahead, and as usual, we'll start with the Division 1A games, and it's going to be Cross and Drummond. We're going to discuss first. This game's going to be live on Armagh TV on Friday evening, and all these games are 7:15 on Friday. So I suppose Drummond, they're suffered their first defeat of the season last weekend. They're league champions, and just looking back at last year, they beat Crossmaglen 3-11 to 2-12 in a high scoring game. And there's probably a wee bit of a rivalry between the two. So this is going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, no, definitely as the makings of a really interesting game. I suppose Drummond coming into this season would have been looking to build on their success last year and that league title win, and sort of really consolidate on that, and then look to push on later in the year, maybe and improve on their championship performances. So they'll maybe be a wee bit disappointed just with the start that they've made there. I know that the 3 very tight games, they drew their first 2 games, and from reading the report in the Madden match there, it seemed to be another tight one with Madden getting a goal late on, maybe to put a bit of a gap between the sides and sort of clinch the victory for them. So Drummond probably coming into this one maybe with a wee bit more pressure on them than Cross are, and sort of maybe more of need of the 2 points.
And that rivalry, and I'm not sure, like, how do players sort of, does that have any focus on it, that it's a wee bit of a rivalry? And obviously we remember there isn't that much recent history between the sides worth talking about, but remember that championship game where the boys in the jeans come out and lined out for Drummond. I think there was a wedding on or something. So I don't know.
My bad boy was refereeing that match that day, so he had a hand evening of it. So he did.
So like that's probably the most recent sort of story we can come out of these 2 teams, but a bit of rivalry. There might be a bit of niggle in this game, and as Drummond will want to get one over Cross like they did last year.
Yeah, no, definitely a bit of a rivalry game here, and I suppose you're probably looking back, maybe to the early 2000s, to whenever the rivalry there was at its peak, and sort of maybe Drummond fell away a wee bit there for 10 years or so, but they're getting back up, and they seem to be sort of making waves, sort of a bit underage as well, some success there, and like they'll definitely be coming into this game, looking to get a go across and sort of put down another marker. That a good win last year in that high scoring game that you mentioned. I think I'm not too sure, whether like the 2 will be coming in that, with any sort of thoughts of it being a big rivalry game, especially with it being so early in the league, and especially I think from Cross's perspective, they've had the success, and I think they'll be more looking at it, as a chance sort of maybe to put a wee bit more pressure on Drummond. Drummond lose out on Friday night, then all of a sudden they're 4 games into the league with only 1 point on the board. No wins there, a wee bit early season pressure, and all of a sudden, they have a chance to put Drummond maybe into sort of a wee bit of early kind of relegation worries. Because it's a very tight division, that 1A, and as you've seen, sort of from week to week, anyone's capable of beating anyone. So you don't want to be going too long there without getting a victory on the board.
And just talking about that sort of relegation fear, we'll move on to the next one, and that's Greenmore up against the Harps. Perhaps a bit of a rivalry there as well. Greenmore, they're bottom of the table with only 1 point picked up from their games so far. Is it too early to be worried about relegation, Matthew, or is it never too early? Like once you get a bad start, it's the first thing you're thinking of?
Well, I suppose from our perspective with Annick Moore, it's been front and centre of our minds for the last few years. So I may be coming at things from that perspective we touch, but I don't know. I suppose with Graham Moore, they've sort of had a couple of decent results there. They got the draw against Mahi, and other than that, that's kind of all they've really got on the board there. I understand that they do have a couple of injuries and things, and maybe a club like Graham Moore, maybe wouldn't have as big a squad as some of the other teams in the division, and those injuries can maybe hit you hard. So Graham Moore really probably be looking to see how those injuries are going to clear up over the next couple of weeks, and they will sort of be looking to get points on the board soon, because the way kind of the leagues are shaping up here this year, what will be 5 games into the league after Friday night, you're nearly at the halfway point, and sort of if you're sitting at the bottom of the table looking up, it's a difficult second half of the season you're looking into.
And the Harps, I think they're in need of points as well. They beat Mahary on the first day of the season, and they drew across McGlynn last week, but sort of in the same situation. They're maybe not in relegation trouble just at the minute, but you want to be picking up points, as many points as you can.
Yeah, no, I don't think Harps will be in any kind of relegation bother come the end of the year, but they've definitely been a wee bit hot and cold, to start the season. That great win over probably an understrength Mahary team the first day out, and then sort of losing to Madden was a bit of an eye-catching result, and fair play to Madden. That was a great result for them, and they are a fantastic up and coming team, and they would have been really up for that game. And I think too, from reading the report on the Cross Harps game from last week, Cross seemed to come back late in that game, to maybe snatch a draw. So, it'd be interesting to see if Harps maybe have a wee bit of a hangover from that as well. But especially with them having a full hand, injuries aside, there's no county men involved. I kind of maybe would have been expecting them to push on a wee bit in the league, and sort of lay a marker out early this year, and sort of get at the main business, sort of, and they're looking forward to sort of maybe having a good rattle at a league title, and then sort of setting themselves up nicely for the championship. So, I think that's what the Harps will have in mind. So they'll definitely be going into this game too, looking to pick up the 2 points.
And you mentioned Madden there, and we spoke a lot about Madden, and I'm worried I don't want to be building them up too much this early in the season, but they're travelling to Mahary on Friday evening, and Mahary probably struggling a wee bit with men injured, and obviously their county men away, but they pulled out a good result the other day. They got an early goal against Clonard and they held that lead. And I suppose they're still looking at the quality of like a Stephen Falker, Oisin Lappin, players, Ronan Lappin pulling them through. But Stephen Falker, he pulled up against Clonard and was taken off. He come back on to kick a brilliant point and pulled up again. So he'd probably not be available. And it's just their injury woes are just probably letting them down this early in the season.
Yeah, potentially the injury woes and the county contingent being away, and then you throw into the mix then just a new management setup in there too. Maybe trying to find their feet, a new style of play. I'm not too sure, but those are all maybe factors that need to be considered there. But Mahary definitely had a very good result, beating Clonard the last day out, and sort of that'll get their season up and running.
So that brings us to Division 1B then. And there's a game on Thursday night. This is one of 2 that isn't on Friday night. It's Ballymacnab against Clonagale. And we'll not spend too long on this, Matthew, because by the time this is going out live on Facebook, this game will be over. So I suppose Clonagale, a great start to the season, 2 outings, 2 wins, a superior score difference than the likes of the Grange or the Silver Bridge coming in behind them. This is a Clonagale team to get excited about. I think that we're going to see this team building. They're young. They're coming for the next, 3 or 4 years, and probably the confidence they got from Clonard winning the championship, that'll rub off on them, and they'll think, they can push on and be real contenders this year.
Definitely, and they'll not be the only team, that Clonard's win will have inspired this year. But no, Clonagale really seem to have been riding the crest of a wave since Jimmy Martin came in there 3 or 4 years ago, and they've really been on the up since then. And I think only for the COVID interrupted 2020, they look like a team that would have given 1B a real good rattle last year. They ran Cross close in the championship last year as well, and only 4 being stuck in 2A for the extra year. They could potentially be a 1A team this year, but they've had a couple of real eye-catching wins so far this year, particularly the big victory against Pearse Oak. So definitely a team to watch in 1B this year is Clonagale.
And Ballymacnab, I suppose they're hoping to have Galvin McParn back for Thursday night, which is a huge addition. But the likes of Ryan Kennedy, Jack Crugan, obviously Rory with the county, just not ready for game time yet. It's a big miss for Ballymacnab. We talked about Mahary, and I know being a Ballymacnab man, we're much improved with the likes of Ryan Kennedy and Jack Crugan in the team.
Yeah. Not only the quality that those players bring to the team, but the lift that it gives everyone else then in the team. Whenever those boys are available and they're playing. but no, like I'm sure Ballymcnabb would get McFarlane back. Very different sort of prospect there. That's someone that needs to be watched and is capable, of racking up a big score himself. So I think potentially, as you say, it might be coming a week or two too early for Ballymcnabb. This game just with injuries and bits and pieces, but they'll definitely be looking to build as the season goes on. And we've seen last year, maybe didn't have the greatest of league form, but whenever it came around to the championship and the full hand was available, you've seen the quality that Ballymcnabb have.
And then we mentioned Clonagale's big win over the Oaks. We'll move on to the Oaks on Silverbridge. I suppose this is Silverbridge's fourth outing of the league. Pearse Oaks have only played one league game, and it was that they got hammered by Clonagale. I suppose that big layoff, Matthew, can be good in a sense that they're maybe getting injured players back, and but having 4 weeks or nearly, I think it's about a month from that game, with no game in between, just training, it's a long layoff, isn't it, for a team coming up against a team that's been playing week in, week out?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a long layoff. It's nearly like another mini pre-season, if you like. It can be difficult maybe to get going at training if you've nothing to look forward to now. So I don't know, maybe they've maybe got a challenge game or two in, to try and maybe get the Clonagale game out of their systems. But it's hard to know what to make of Pearse Oak. They could have just maybe had an off day against Clonagale. So you don't want to read too much into that. But definitely, you look at Silverbridge, 4 games under their belt. The momentum that a good win against Mullabon last week will bring for them. I just think looking at this game, Silverbridge, with having had the extra game time, probably more in the legs, bit more momentum, a bit more confidence about them. I'll be looking at Silverbridge in this particular game.
And the final game of Division 1B then, it's Caircroppen and Mullabon. And Caircroppen, they've just had struggled a bit since coming up from they come up from Division 2B last year. And I suppose you're in a perfect position to talk about this. Matthew, you jumped from junior football to senior in, was it 2013 you won the junior championship? So how difficult of a step up is that? You were stepping up, to championship grades. Caircroppen are stepping up to league grades. So it is a huge step up, obviously.
No, it is a massive step up, and that particularly that first year that we were playing senior football, the difference between senior and junior obviously is night and day. You don't need to be an expert to know that. We were quite fortunate, that we had quite a young team. We had a good blend of the team. Sort of people come to the right age, good influx of young players. So it's kind of suited us, and we were able to detect it. Caircroppen, I think they possibly have a couple of injuries this year. But they'll be looking to get those read up. I suppose they were very impressive in winning the intermediate championship last year, so they're definitely in 1B on merit. And I think once they find their feet, they get their full squad available. You'll probably see them turn the tide a wee bit. I mean, you look at Grange 2 or 3 years ago, they made the same jump, and the Grange could probably count themselves unlucky not to have been promoted to 1A last year. So the gap's probably not from 2B to 1B isn't probably as significant as you might think, but I think once Caircroppen can get a few players back and find their feet in the division, they should look to pick up a few results. I can't see them picking up a win now this Friday evening against Mullabon. Very well organised team, good young team, very fit, strong, number of good players, and again probably a team with aspirations of making it up to 1A and sort of getting back to where they were maybe 20, 25 years ago, competing for senior championships. Definitely probably where they're hoping to go.
I think you'd have played Mullabon last year and a couple of times maybe over the last few years. They're a team on the rise, the likes of Shay Eddie English, Owen McDonald, maybe all hitting their peaks now. So they're definitely going to try to push on. And we've said a couple of times on the podcast, they're one of the front runners for promotion.
Yeah, no, definitely. They do have a very strong team there. There's a strong forward line. Eddie English is extremely dangerous inside. Owen McDonald is a good, strong footballer around the middle, plenty of pace, strong runner. Then they've Cormac Smith as well, midfield, another good footballer. But I've also found out that they have a very good sort of structured system of play. Every player knows their role there. They all stick to it. They're very disciplined. They all play for each other. And they're definitely one of the teams that you'll be looking at in 1B, that should have promotion aspirations.
We'll move on to the intermediate division then. It's Division 2A, and we're going to look at probably the biggest game of the weekend. It's Shane O'Neill's against Tullysarn. We spoke up Shane O'Neill's really on the podcast last week. 3 wins from 3 is obviously a good starting point for them. Tullysarn, they've had 1 win, 1 draw and 1 loss, so not as good a start for Tullysarn. But these are 2 teams that have been knocking on the door for the last couple of years. Shane's were in the intermediate final a couple of years ago, while Tullysarn were in the last 2 semi-finals, I think. So these are 2 teams that are pushing for promotion and are going to be at the right end of the intermediate championship later in the year.
Yeah, no, I think now I'm looking forward to this game on Friday night. I think it'll give both teams, a real good sort of marker as to where they're at. The Shanes, as you mentioned, they're in a streamlined Division 2A this year, picking up 3 wins early on. You only have the 12 games, so it's a very, very good start for them, especially whenever you throw into the mix the fact that they're without their 3 county men as well. Particularly impressed with their win last weekend against St. Peters. I would have been looking at that game thinking, in Lurgan especially, you'd have been expecting St. Peters maybe to pick up the points there. So, the Shanes have got off to a super start. Tullysarn, again, they've had that mixed bag. They beat us pretty comfortably on the first day, to be fair. I was very impressed with them. They kept the ball well, they controlled the game, especially whenever they got those couple of points up. Then, funny enough, I watched them the next week against the Tones, and again, they could probably count themselves a wee bit unfortunate that that game finished a draw. They were 2 or 3 points up, kind of going into the last 5 or 10 minutes, picked up possibly a needless black card, and that gave the Tones then, a bit of momentum, and they reeled them back in. And again, then there's another tight game with St. Peters last day out, finished 7-8. So, that gives you an indication of the type of battle that was. So, I think you'll be looking at another tight game here on Friday night, possibly a bit more high scoring than the last game I just mentioned there. But there'll be 2 teams going at it, and you'll kind of have a good indication, of who's going to be around the top of the table then on Friday evening too, once you see the result of this game.
And on Tullysarn, we'll probably always speak about their forward line when we look at Tullysarn. Eddie Mullen, Gavin Conlon, Mark McKeever, Owen Daly. They do have quality up at that end of the pitch, and I know they have a couple of boys missing in the defence. Turlock Lardner's gone, Brian Kelly's gone this year, so they're maybe a bit attack heavy, and maybe it's the defence that's their issue.
Yeah, no, I like from what I've seen of them, defensively, I've been impressed with them. They seem to have a good system of play there. They've Davy Hart and John Devine over them this year. They're very well organised. You look at their results. I mean, they definitely don't look like a team, that's leaking, big score. I mean, the most they've conceded this year is 110. So, no, I think they look like a well-balanced team. It's probably unfortunate for them that they have lost the players that you mentioned there, because with those 3 boys on board, they probably would be really, really pushing. They likely will be thereabouts at the end of the league season, but with those 3 on board, you definitely be looking at them as big contenders for the league and the championship.
And another one on Friday night then is White Cross. They host Wolf Tones, and again, don't want to be talking relegation too early in the season, but again, 2 teams that that need 2 points. White Cross, obviously bottom of the table, and Wolf Tones sitting 3rd from bottom, I think. You played White Cross last weekend, Matthew. How did you find them? Are they a team that can push on and get up from that last spot on the table?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that they can. We kind of sort of got 2 goals in quick succession towards the end of the first half that kind of gave us a bit of a buffer, but they really came back at us in that second half, and they've a number of strong runners. They've a good runner at centre half back, and also the guy, I think it's Aidan Finnegan, playing at midfield, very good footballer, strong runner, and sort of very reliable on the free kicks as well. They did seem to sort of be trying to maybe set up themselves to sound defensively, and then break from there. But no, they'll definitely be a team that no one will sort of be relishing playing, especially in White Cross. You're always going to get a battle from them. So it'll be interesting to see how this game goes now on Friday night, and whether the 2 teams sort of cancel each other out or not. Maybe both play a similar style, well structured, and then looking to break a pace, whenever they do turn the opposition over.
And there's probably a few teams like the Tones. Is that difficult of a Friday evening having to travel from Lurgan, the whole way to South Armagh, after maybe working all week? Is that there's a few teams like Madden have to go to Mahary, Clevey to Clonard, this is all through the divisions. This is happening, these long journeys.
No, it can be difficult for boys. It's all right for people like me talking about it. I'm still working from home, fortunately, most of the time, so I can sit here with a smile on my face. But definitely, if there's boys maybe working out the sites or things and they're doing a hard day's labour, and then all of a sudden you're trying to get from Belfast or back up from Dublin or wherever it might be, for a game at 7:15, it can be tight, but it's just one of those things, and it's the same for every team, and it's going to affect every team in the same way. And I think though, if you ask the players, there's definitely probably a preference in my own personal opinion, the people I speak to, there's definitely a preference, or the lean towards preferring the Friday night games, because it leaves you then obviously, you have your weekend free and you can sort of do whatever you like with it.
I think there was a debate coming into this year about Friday night games, and I think this is the first that the majority of the games are on Friday night. It's the players that are backing this, that everybody wants it, and hopefully the plan would be that you'd have a free weekend then.
I know exactly. No, but there's a good buzz too with the game on a Friday night. Everyone's landing in good form, work's done for the week, and if you are coming out of a game on a Friday night with a win, then it sets you up for the weekend.
So we'll move on then to Division 2B. In Division 2A, St. Paul's also take on St. Peter's, and that's on Monday evening. So moving on to Division 2B, we'll start with Ballyhagan and Forkhill. And I suppose the story of these two teams is they're struggling with men. Obviously, the couple of county men that Forkhill are missing, and a couple of injuries are big blows. Same with Ballyhagan, a few injuries, few retirements. And it's just going to be a struggle maybe for these two teams. And again, a hugely important 2 points available on Friday night.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, Forkhill, 3 quality players are away with the county, and would hit any team, losing those 3 boys. But they're well aware of the fact that they're not going to be available for the majority of the league, and they probably do plan for that, and they're probably used to playing without those boys. Whereas team like Ballyhagan, who've had a couple of retirements, suffered a couple of injuries, too, to key players, that can't really be planned for. So Ballyhagan's probably in a slightly different boat to what Forkhill are going into this match. Forkhill would have been expecting this, and Ballyhagan maybe not so much at the beginning of the year. But I think looking at the two teams too, Forkhill should still, they look like they do still have a bit of quality. The Cormac Toner sort of up front as well. He does seem to have a bit of scoring prowess, and can carry a bit of the burden, whereas Ballyhagan, with the players they have lost, I mean, they're kind of missing Jack Rafferty and James McCormick, 2 players that they would have expected to have, and they've lost the Courtneys as well from last year. You kind of maybe you take those players out, and Ballyhagan are maybe kind of struggling to get scores on the board, and if you look at their results, that's kind of what it would indicate. But they've Joe Feeney over them this year, and Joe will not kind of be backing down from any fight, and we'll be getting Ballyhagan up for this game, and both of them will be going into it. It's a massive game, and whoever comes out of it on the winning side, can then look forward and try and improve on that and build on that, and see where the season takes them.
And another big game then, it's Clonmore against Colorville, and again with that big journey of a Friday evening. And Clonmore probably a notoriously difficult place to go, and Colorville, they seem to be riding high at the minute. They seem like the team to beat in Division 2B, and showed us their quality through the championship last year. They've carried that form into this year. So this is going to be an interesting one that we're going to keep our eye on.
No, definitely. I think Colorville coming down from 2A last year probably raised a few eyebrows, but they showed their quality in the championship, as you say there. And they've really hit the ground running this year. A couple of really impressive wins. I was keeping an eye on that game between them and Tiernan, because I think they'll be the 2 teams thereabouts at the end of the season in this division. They've good quality up front. With Ryan Garvey, Colin Waters, Cal Hatzer, great quality there. So they'll be going up to Clonmore, I think, on Friday evening. Looking 2 points, but as you say, Clonmore's a notoriously difficult place to go. Really proud club, great club. They've probably been hampered a wee bit over the last few years, just sort of with the lack of availability of players. Just with having a smaller squad, but they have a number of excellent footballers there. You've the Cunninghams, you've Sean Quigley, James Grimley. So Clonmore will give Colville their fill of it on Friday evening, I think.
And then the junior division, Division 3, there's 6 games. All teams are playing on Friday evening. They're all at 7:15 on Friday. The two we've picked out, Matthew, are probably the two biggest games. And the first one's Middletown and Derrynoose. And I want to talk about this one because it's interesting. These two teams played on Tuesday night in the hurling, and they play on Friday night in the football, and there's a lot of overlapping players between the two teams. So it was a draw on Tuesday night, and we could see a similar result then on Friday.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see now how that carries over to the game on Friday evening. I suppose there'll be two teams sort of from the football perspective anyway. They'll be gunning for 2 points here on Friday evening to keep pace with Arrogue at the top of the table. Derrynoose, I think they're maybe missing Conor McNally at the minute through injury, so he'll be a big miss for them. Middletown, I'm not sure what their situation is with their hurlers, but if they're available to them, they're definitely a strong outfit, and you'd probably consider them one of the stronger teams in the junior. But no, it should definitely be a real cracking game on Friday evening, because there'll definitely be two teams then too with championship aspirations later in the year.
And they're the two teams sort of chasing Arrogue at the minute. Arrogue obviously unbeaten, and another team sort of in that chasing pack is Newtown, and they're playing Dorsey on Friday evening. And this game, Newtown showed in the championship last year, while it was knockout, championship probably didn't go for them. They met Derrynoose in the first round. They pushed Derrynoose all the way, and I think it was a full-out Derrynoose team. I think Davy McCreesh and Conor McNally and everybody was playing that night. So Newtown showed serious quality that night. They have a few young boys coming through, and they're hoping, you would imagine, to push into that top bracket now, the top 3 or 4 in that league, while Dorsey probably blow hot and cold in the league. They're always thereabouts in the championship, and again they did show it getting to the semi-final and almost beating Billick last year. So these two teams probably trying to push up into that top 3 or 4.
Yeah, no, it's hard to know what way this game could go here on Friday evening. Newtown have had a good start to the season, a couple of wins under their belt, a draw as well. They're up there, in the top 4 or 5 of the table. They'll be looking to push on. They'll be looking to put a run of wins together to try and get themselves into promotion contention, build towards the championship later in the year. Dorsey, you mentioned there, they have been very hot and cold. You look at their results. One week they're recording a big win against Colorville. The following week, heavy defeat to Middletown. So you're maybe just not quite sure what you're going to get from Dorsey. But no, it definitely will be a keenly contested game on Friday evening there between those two teams.
So the other Division 3 games then, it's Thomas Davis host Arrogue. The Summon take on Clady, O'Hanlon's meet Clevey Seconds, and Mullabrack host Portmore. So that's all we have for today's show, folks. Best of luck to the Armagh Hurlers also. They take on Fermanagh in the 4th round of the Nicky Record Cup on Saturday. As usual, we'll be covering all the club action with previews, match reports, podcasts, and our review show will be out on Monday or Tuesday, and we'll have a special guest on talking about all the action from the weekend. Matthew, thanks very much for coming on previewing all the games.
No problem, Sean. Thanks for having me.